look, it's the most wonderful time of some people's years. I mean, I experienced joy. My Wolves have won two, almost three games in a row. What is winning like? I don't know. Kevin De Bruyne is still carrying the midfield in Man City, and his back is still strong for it. And we're not talking about any of this because we just finished the last women's international friendly of the year. That window is now complete. We saw lots of good games. We saw Brazil go to Australia and have a good time. We saw France play Nigeria and some learning lessons there. We saw the US go on tour in Europe and have a draw and a nice win defending. And we have our teams. Our teams did some stuff. And also, the Ghana FA decided that apparently the Black Queens can't play because they make tournaments, so they can't have friendlies at the end of the year. But I'm not going to rant about that today. Because I'm very annoyed and upset about that. But besides that, we're here to talk about the women friendlies of 2024 in the December/November window. You know who I am. I'm the African. We talk about Canadian African content because I wouldn't be the Africans if we didn't do so. We have JD, who is your resident multi-passport man. Some days they call him Jason Bourne because he has so many passports. We don't know what to do with him, but he sometimes forgets who he is. He's still going on this whole Billy thing, so I'm not sure. But I see JD in the chat, so I think we have him back. We have him back here, so Blackwater did well. We are here. JD, how are you doing today? How's the life? How are you?
Well, thanks for having me. I would say life is okay. I'm finding ways to balance streaming life as well, with the normal life. But at this point, I have been taking a little break here and there because, as you said, it's this time of the month. Or the year, I should say, where in which it's more festive and stuff. You want to spend more time with your family and everything. But I did I had the opportunity to watch majority of these games and actually even cover some of them. So yes, I'm here for the breakdown. I heard you bragging about your wins and stuff. But tell you what, it's also the festive period for teams to play a lot of games. Yes. So you might be crying at the end.
It's okay. I want to enjoy. If you can just freeze it where it just says, Wolves just above the relegation line, just give me that moment because I've lived in it. I've lived in this pain for far too long. But guys, we're here to talk about the women's friendlies. If you're here live, leave a comment. Which team did you enjoy? We are going to focus a little bit on our teams here. The Super Falcons. We'll talk about Nigeria a little bit. We'll talk about Canada and the Reggae Girlz because then that'll also give us a chance to talk a little bit about South Africa. And depending on how the time will go, we'll go. So leave your comments on the live if you're coming back here. Make sure you leave your comments in the comments below. And we go and we talk because, this is where, to steal a line from him, this is where football lives. Yeah. You look, see that smile? He hasn't smiled like that in years. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Well, it is what it is. Where you want to start? Because we have a lot.
Let's start with the Falcons. Canada? No, let's start with the
Falcons. Okay, no problem.
Let's start with the Falcons.
Nigeria, okay.
Nigeria.
You would have started with Nigeria. Yes, exactly. Yes, continue.
I have to get them out of the way first before I speak about good. I had this conversation with my siblings where I was like, there's this rumor around me internationally that I don't like Nigerians or Jamaicans, apparently. I'm like, that's not true. They just that I'm consistently have a high bar with them, and that makes me seem like I'm a hater. It's not the case. I am just consistent.
And it's tough because the sad thing about it, I think Nigerians and Jamaicans are similar people. They are very proud people, and majority of the times when you pop up, results does not go the way of the teams that you're saying what will happen. And what I've realized that most people would not go back and actually check to see what you have said, they are just in the moment because they're passionate people. So that's one thing I think I've realized as well, because it happened to me on several occasions because I class myself as an analyst and things like that happen. So I don't think you should take it serious. I think both Nigerians and Jamaicans are passionate people, they work with their heart more than anything else. You understand me? And I will leave it right there.
Yeah, and the heart wants what it wants, and sometimes it doesn't get what it wants. So what are you gonna do? But we had Nigeria playing France. We had Nigeria. We had Nigeria playing France. We're gonna be professional today. It's not gonna last. They played France in Nigeria's only game, and that's a whole conversation. The African friendlies were a little bit sparse for my liking, just because. And I mean, I already made my only 5 cents on the Ghana situation. Apparently, if your men can't make an AFCON, your women can't play friendlies. Kurt, fix this or fix yourself, because I can't deal with this anymore. Okay, support the girls. But Nigeria goes over. It's not a full squad Nigeria side, as we can see, looking at their nines and everyone that they play. They play France. They lose 2-1. All the goals coming in the first half. We're using ESPN for the stats here, guys. So just full disclosure, this is what we're using. So if you have something else that you're saying, this is not what the stats are, we're just using ESPN here. 69 to 30.6, so about 70-30 in possession for France's way.
Yeah,
11
it's always right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched most of this game. You watched it all. A fun stream that was, by the way, when I checked into it. It was a very fun stream. 11 shots on goal for France, 18 overall, 5 and 7 for Nigeria, 4 yellow cards, 10-5 in terms of corner kicks, 8 saves for Nigeria.
I think it's exactly correct. That's even more accurate than the soccer stuff and stuff, because they give you the points, rather than just squared it off the 70-30. Yeah.
But then you had Nigeria going, they have Alozie, Imran, Plumtree back, Ohale, and Nadozie in the back line. You don't have Oshala. You don't have
It's a lot. You don't have the border, Ashola. You don't have Kanu, Ajibade. You don't have Demi Hen as well. It's a lot of people. Jennifer, you don't have Jennifer there either. So you have a lot of people that could have added to this squad. But continue.
But no, and I think so. With all that being said, on paper, a 2-1 loss isn't a bad result. It's not a bad result. It does open the door for the conversation that we always have with Nigeria, where we say, if they bring all their hitters, if they bring all the big guns, France is, of the top 10 teams, France is the team that I trust the least. So I look at this and say, on a good day, France will play a good first half, and then their second half, for whatever reason, they'll drop off. And that'll come down to if Nigeria wants to play the crossbar challenge or the net challenge. And then depending on which one they play, then that'll give them a good listen. And that'll be.
I don't know what is wrong with you and France, but I can tell you that the best thing happened in this game is the scoreline, Africans. This game should have easily well ended 10-2, 10-3, I would say, because they were better than Jamaica. In their performance as to how Jamaica played France. And Jamaica still had 2 opportunities. It fell to the wrong person at the wrong time. But it was dominant right through. It was not a first half or a second half. It's the entire 90 minutes. I actually thought that they figured out things, playing with the 4 or playing with the 5 as well. And they looked very, very good. I think it was Katoto. Was the person. She is like Diane 6.8. You understand me? Yes, they just blessed that of missing chances. So aside from that, I thought that they could have scored a lot of goals. So they performed well, man. I don't think Jamaica game was close or this game was close. The best thing upon is just the scoreline, nothing else. Just the scoreline.
No. I don't disagree with you there, but I do. It just speaks to the narrative I have for France. And again, yes, apparently I just don't believe in France ever. But I think for them, I think France is a side that will always tease you with the potential that they have, and I will never doubt that. But they've just never been able to put together that full game experience. And yes, this is a friendly. But if I'm Nigeria, yes, it was lopsided. Yes, it was dominant that way. But if you're Nigeria, you still were able to create chances against this team with not even your full squad. So in theory, hypothetically speaking, if they get this full squad and they play top teams, we saw at the Olympics, there's not a game they weren't in at the Olympics. There wasn't a game they weren't in for qualifying. The question is just, can they get the finishing when they need it, right? They seem to be a side that is just defend well, erupt for 4 goals, Australia at the World Cup, and then defend well, then tight games all throughout. Nigeria is a side that has yet for me to put it all together at this level. Maybe at AFCON this summer, they're able to do it and really just maybe stake claims to us, because they should be a better side than, say, South Africa. They should be a better side than the Moroccans. And outside of that, what other teams are really standing in their way in terms of the talent that they have at their disposal? It should be them. So I don't see this as necessarily a bad result for them. I know the flow will suggest other things, but you've just played a top 10 team in the world. And realistically, yes, it was lopsided in terms of chances, but you kept the score line that you were still in it. Yes, you have a red at the end of it, but you were still in this game, though it's felt at many times you were leaking like an open faucet. So there's much to take, and the fact that this was a lot of their depth, at least you now know as a coach, which is one thing, and you'll hear this refrain when I talk about the Canada games, at least they've learned something. Whether or not this is their coach or not, that's a whole nother conversation. But at least this roster, you've seen them against top players and you've seen how they react to that. And now the coach, or at least the program, has this in their backhand and say, okay, we've seen how Plumtree reacts against France. Okay, so then if they play, say, a team that's going to try to be physical with us at AFCON, okay, we know how she'll react to it. We know how Alozie will react to it, et cetera, et cetera. They at least have now a database on how they can play against these types of teams. I think that helps them. The result isn't what they're looking for, of course. I don't think I expected them to win based off the roster they were bringing, but at least for Nigeria, they've learned a little bit more about their depth for a friendly. That's all you can really ask for. Learn more about your depth so you know what to do walking to it.
Yeah, man, I would agree with you to say that, because when you're going into friendlies, it's just to break down things, see what your system is, who fits your system. I did say that, but I'm just saying, because you talk on the game itself, I'm just saying that the game was not as to the result, it was nowhere near close. But if you're looking for what you're looking for, as in like more key players, I would say that the good thing that I saw, Imoran looks like she's getting better with her decision making at left back. So that means she can cement herself as a left back or a left wing back. And I would say she could preferably be even a better wing back than a natural left back. So what that could have done is to free up the space of Plum 3 to become even more either a wing back or a centre back. Because that is something that we had talked about, that maybe this is a system that can transform the stability and passing for Nigeria, and add more pieces to the defense, because centre backs were always the pieces that Nigeria lacks. So Aladipo comes in, Plum 3 showing that she can play centre back as well. It adds a lot more centre backs. So maybe that's the way Nigeria will cross their styles to start playing more possession-based football than anything else. So I thought you were on one there. So even though they played a 4 here, it still showcased that others can deal with certain positions and it could help other people. I wouldn't say in midfield or forward we have learned so much. It's just flat out the defense line. I think we have learned a lot.
No, I would agree. And on that line, I mean, you are seeing more center backs coming in. And I know, based off just for coverage, do you think a back 3 for the Super Falcons should be something they consider as a work on going into AFCON this summer? I mean, they'll have friendlies to get ready for it, but do you think a back 3, which can then translate to a back 5, might be something they should look in? Because when I was the Le Sommer goal, the first one that France scores is just get the ball at the wing, and then it's transition, a few block shots, and eventually it reaches the Sommer and then she scores. But I thought to myself, yeah, your fullback got pinched there. That's unfortunate. If your wingback gets pinched there, you still have a center back standing behind and you can give her some coverage. Do you think a back 3 might be the right option for them, or at least something they should consider going into 2025?
Yes. I think maybe back 3 is the actual solution for them, because based on what I am seeing now, I think that but remember, before they couldn't play because they never had so much center backs
Yes.
coming through. But now you have Oladipo that showcase that she can play at a higher level because our physical makeup is there, and you have Plum 3 Demian added to the numbers. O'Haley is also there, so you have more than 5 center backs now. So I think back 3 is the best way to go. And why that even boosted, you have to say that Imran, Olozi, those are players that would thrive going forward because they also can play winger. You understand me? So them playing that hybrid role would be the best solution. And then in midfield now, you have 2 sitters, Echigini and Jennifer. Those could have been 2 sitters. And maybe Deborah would have or other license to go forward now. And then you can get more stability in midfield, stability in defense, and then you just let your forwards do your thing. Nigeria have always waited on a time that their forwards could just say, okay, we're just going to play football free flow. And I can tell you that they would score ridiculous amount of goals, but they have to always be in positions that they can't seem so balanced. You know, they always have to be defending more than anything else. So I think that's the way to go. That's the way to go going into the next year. And I think they can rapidly rise because they have pieces. They have quality pieces. They just need to kind of find a way out to secure their poorer parts, which I would say is their defense at this point, solidify that, and everything will come together.
Yeah, and I think that that's true. I think for Nigeria, for me, it's finding the balance within everything. If they can solidify the back line, I mean, it's not. I know it seems like it's throwing rocks and shades. Their back line is not Zambia levels of question marks. Okay, they aren't there. They are at least solid, but I think giving them that extra push. This is, and I always make this point with Canada. I think switching to a back 3 for the Canadians was big for them because Lawrence, Riviere, Carl would always get pushed up in the attack, and then you saw it exploited against Australia at the World Cup. It was just, you're going to give that to us? Okay, put that into space, and we will give you goals as you get ready to pack your bags to go back home. That's just the reality of it. They switch to a back 3. It allows their defender, their backs to move up, but then they also have the freedom to come back. Now you're in a back 5. Your center backs are athletic enough that they can win foot races if they need, but they're also physical enough that any challenge isn't really intimidating for them. So I think for Nigeria, I think Nigeria and Canada do compare more roster to roster a lot more than people realize. Just that I think the Canadians I think they're right now, they're a little bit younger and coming into their own. I think Nigeria has to figure out what that combination is with their emerging talent plus their more established ones. But I think for those two, a back 3 is ideal, and it allows you to really push forward. It might leave you a little bit thin in the middle, but I think they have a strong enough midfielders that it doesn't really affect them too much. So, guys, on the Nigeria, we're going to say hi to everyone who is here, which is Jason. Hi, Jason. Always good to see you. Appreciate you there, and we are here. So, thoughts on Nigeria, guys? If you guys want to put them in the comments, make sure you put them there. But I think Nigeria back 3 might be the move for them. I think that would be the thing I would learn from the Nigeria-France matchup, which would be their depth isn't as egregious as we would think. But I think a back 3 might actually unlock, and whether they want to play a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2, however they want to go through, I think that could really exploit what Nigeria could be both defensively and offensively, where they can be compact but then be lethal on the counter as well. I think I'll leave that there. But we saw, of the other games I watched with you and other fun things, we saw Jamaica play 2 matchups with South Africa. First one ending 3-0. We saw a return of the Shah. Money playing well. And then we saw the second game ending 3-2 in that matchup, which and I'll make this South Africa comment. South Africa is a solid side. They are the AFCON reigning champions right now. But I think my one concern with South Africa is they need to start to find those next that next wave of players that are emerging behind them. Normally you want your starters, your stars are your stars, right? And that's good. But you want that next wave, whether they're your reserves coming, you want them to be able to be lethal as well. They may not be the same players, but you need them to be lethal. And I think in these Jamaica matchups, we saw that while South Africa has a solid system that they are working and building towards AFCON, their passing, their technical ability is there. Their finishing only really showed up in that second game. And I think you can't keep the first game was an exercise in at some point you need to score here, because the longer this goes, Jamaica just needs one. And then now you're going to say we've been building up so much for 30 minutes and now Jamaica scores on the Olympic,
true.
Right? And so for me, South Africa, it's just they've had a core that had been knocking on the doors for a long time at AFCON. They finally won. Always a bridesmaid, never the bride. They were finally the bride. They got it. But I feel this is like one of those, the male comparison to me would be, this feels like that Italian team, that men Italian team that won the Euros in 2000 or 2021, where they had all the pieces. They finally won it. But then you start looking at it and you think, okay, but can they now do the next thing, which is come back? That team didn't make the World Cup. That team wasn't able to really build off of any other performances. They had the good performance there after knocking on the door and being a solid side. That's what the South Africa side feels like. They feel like that Italy team moving forward. So, I mean, for them, we haven't seen too much with them with their youth teams. I know right now we have COSFA going on, so U17 qualifiers, because we have the U17s that are starting every year in 25. So we'll be following that to see kind of if any players are emerging. But for the South Africa side, I think you see the vision, but the depth wasn't necessarily able to come through and play well. That's what I'll say on the South Africa side. But I want to flip it over to the Jamaican side for you, JD.
I can talk on the South African side as well, because I was watching them.
Feel free to.
Yes, I would agree with you that maybe they were looking for additional pieces as well to strengthen their forward line. But for me, I do believe that the U17s program will help this team big time, because any extra talent they can find, their styles, the system. I actually think out of Nigeria, Jamaica, South Africa, Ghana, Senegal, I would say out of all of them, South Africa look the best. Obviously Jamaica, Nigeria has more talent. But based on just looking at football and see how football should play and how effective it can be with what you have, I think that they can get the most out of what they do have. So once their talent can really rise to Jamaica or Nigeria, they are going to have problems. Both of these teams beating back this team. This team system is very good. And I saw Nigeria and Jamaica play them. And to be honest, they look better than both Nigeria and Jamaica. Just the super talent, get them both countries over the line, and we have to call it as it is. So I'm impressed with South Africa. All of those games that I'm seeing them in, they have to just keep on trying to get their talents. I think they should believe in a philosophy to send their players over outside a little bit more, because they kind of have this homegrown behavior problems, and I think maybe that is what is stunting what they can really reach.
Well, it's a combination of that too. I think you want to rely on your local leagues. I think you also have to realize, also, fun fact, everyone looked better than Ghana's women's team this window. Ghana didn't play, so everyone looked better than them. But I think when you have local leagues, the reason why a lot of teams and countries will focus on the local leagues, because they're the only leagues that really who have any incentive to play and to develop them. Now, I think there are still opportunities out there. Don't get me wrong. I think if you have the opportunity, go challenge yourself to put yourself in a different environment. But there aren't as many leagues, women leagues in the world for you to find. So if you have one that's local, unless you're studying abroad where you're playing collegiately, like if you're studying in the US or even Canada, let's say that, playing there is probably as good, if not better, than what your local league is. So once you're done that, maybe you go away. I think there's more opportunities. I think Europe has a lot more tiers of leagues that you can play in and continue to develop in. It's not everything is just like, on the men's side. Not everything's going to be the Prem. Not everything's going to be La Liga. Not everything's going to be the Bundesliga. But there are enough leagues out there, I think, that you can find a home. I think I'm curious to see how Canada's league looks with that in terms of what are the international opportunities they give for players. Because I've been one to say what Canada should do is just pick a country and be like, hey, just come over here, and we can be your pathway. We can be your gateway to everywhere. And I think that could be a good, fun thing for not only locals but others. But I think for South Africa, that's the conversation, right? Develop your players in your own league, because the Nigerian league they don't have any incentive to play you. A Spanish league doesn't have any incentive to play you unless you're good. Now, you want your players to be good, but if you can get minutes, by all means, go and play there. So I think for South Africa, they've always been, and you see that with their men's program as well, right? They've always been more, let's continue to build it. Now, for their men's program, and the caveat is that league is one of the better leagues in the continent. So there is a reason that if you want to develop there, yes, you're at one of the better leagues in Africa. You're not just here, right? That would be like saying, and no disrespect to the CPL, that would be like me saying I'm going to play in the CPL because I want to play for Team Canada. I know I'm not getting called if I play in the CPL, at least not at this point. So that means I got to get to the MLS, or that means I got to get to at least a first tier league somewhere. Maybe I have to go to Mexico and play. Maybe I have to go to Colombia and play. I don't know, but I know that in Canada, that's not the case. On the women's side, that hasn't been proven to be the case yet, because most teams and most leagues, again, we made that point when we were talking about the World Cup. The women's game feels a lot like those 70s, 80s World Cup years, where you have a lot more domestic. The game hasn't grown as much, so there's a lot more surprise. There's a lot more tactical surprise. There's a lot more talent surprise. I think as the game expands, as leagues continue to grow, you'll have more books on people, but that means you also have more opportunities on people. And I think for South Africa, for a local side, they've done a good job. They continue to grow, but now that's the next wave. Once you arrive, it's can you now sustain it? And then when you prove you can sustain it, then it's now can you take the next step? And I think for them, it's sustaining and then taking that next step and saying that one AFCON we won a couple of years ago wasn't a fluke, but we're here to stay in that sense. But that'll come with more investment. That'll come with more development. And I think the low-key thing with it is that needs to come with more coaching development, because until countries can really, and I'm going to try to say this, I'm not even going to say it carefully, but I'll say it, until countries want to emphasize not only selling players, but getting coaches those opportunities, you don't always want to rely on the international to come in and do it. Because if you can create that there, that means you can create that system at home. And then that allows you, then that makes your league better. That makes your development better. That makes a lot of things better. But if you don't do that, then you leave yourself in that situation where, I mean, it's okay, we have a league, it's not good. We have to send our players away. Okay, that's not good. Are we sending our coaches away as well? Because I think you should do that too. Even if it is something, get them back in, share that knowledge, develop, grow, and then sustain, take that next step and continue that on, right? Development isn't linear, but I think we're going to see continued jumps on the women's side just because talent is talent. I don't know if you're going to see it all. I think in some of the second tier leagues in Europe, you'll see players start to really take their steps and move. But South Africa is a side that I'm curious to see if they can sustain it, but we'll watch and see. I know I've said a lot there, JD, but feel free to comment.
You're piggybacking off what I was just trying to break down my South Africa, but I guess you had more things to say until I said something, so it's not a problem. So yeah, I'm impressed with your system, and clearly your system is working locally. So I agree with what you're saying, you know. But at some point, as what you had said also, you still need something to push that same quality of players to a different level, and that is from the extra education and the competition. So they need to still get out of South Africa just the same, but at least they can build them to a level very fast enough so they can compete if other professional players are not at the highest level. And that's what we're seeing with Jamaica, because Jamaica came with a lot of professional players, but they weren't ready for South Africa. You understand me? And it looks like once you're not ready physically, they are already up to challenge you. You understand me? And I like that from them, but they still need that extra gear to go. If people watching the show and want to follow it. All right. So for Jamaica now, Jamaica started this one with Brooks in goal, Plummer, Samson, Swaby, Cardoza, that's C Swaby, A Swaby, Spence, Primus, Jody Brown, Eels, and Bonishaw. Obviously,
Mm.
you hear some good names: Spence, Tottenham,
Well, of
Bonishaw,
course.
Manchester City, and my girl from in Italy as well. So it tells you the quality of players that you're seeing on the pitch. You still have Cardoza that's coming from college, Brooks as well. Yes, so they are very young players. So it's a mixture. So what I saw with Jamaica lacked an identity.
Hmm.
You understand me? The country believe that they are fast and strong and physical. So they have a thing that they say big, fast, and strong, right?
Very familiar.
But I've yet to see Jamaica big, fast, and strong and on a team. You understand me? So I think that it's the big, fast, and strong thing. I think it comes from athletics. You understand me? But it's not translating in football. And what I've seen, as what I've said to people, it's not Jamaica being big, fast, and strong. I think they're fast enough, they're strong enough, and they're big enough. So they are not the biggest of none of those things, and the fastest of nothing, and the strongest of nothing. But combined, they are. So I would say that's their strength. They are big, fast, and strong, but not the strongest out of any one of the three categories. So you're a physical team. That's what you are. That's what it truly is. So what you need to do is to capitalize on that. So I would say that you need to have better ball retention more than anything else, because now you know that you have good speed to go out wide and you have good physicality to hold on to your football. So you just need to have the proper guidance through the phases, and you can be a good team. I thought that the first game they lacked those principles, but the second game you saw that they tried to bring it on. And why that happened? They brought in some pieces that changed the complete game. Samson came in, she's a midfield, deeper line midfielder to a defender. So she hold on to the ball first and look for passes. Cardoza, she's a deeper line, no, she's a centre back or centre back fullback type player. Those two players with the technical ability, and you have C Swaby and Plummer. Plummer is the least out of every one of them. All right. Plummer is the least out of everybody. All right. But she was still better in this game. You know why? Because she's like a Damian Lowe type player. She's an exact player like Damian Lowe. But now she have like an Ethan Pinnock first player beside her. So once you see that player, that football not going anywhere, and you have to do your job, she started to take her time. If she's not sure of the play, she passed it to Samson, and Samson tried to distribute the ball right there. Cardoza, I think she was the biggest find of this window. She's technically skilled. She looks like she have maybe the highest IQ out of anyone on the field, which I'm not going to jump over one game, but I'm just saying what I saw from her. Her passing is good. Her stamina level is good. Her IQ of reading, tackling ability is there, and she has good height as well. So it just brings something completely different to Jamaica team. At one point, I'm saying, this is, I mean, I saw these things in Jamaica team before. Saw she run a diamond between when she was over the left hand side, when she went an halfway line, because she's trying to eye press to close up the team. And then now the counter came back and she dropped back into centre back. So she started at left back, go into defensive central, and drop back to the centre back. And I'm saying I never saw these things. So imagine if you have three people on the field doing these things. You can turn into a drop-on style team. You don't have to have so much possession, but you can have effective possession. So you hold the ball properly, work it to your strengths, because you're a physical speed team. So you use wide transition so you can get it out there. But you need players like that are going to be strong on the ball, force it into areas, because you're not going to take them for granted. You understand me? So those two players, Samson and Cardoza, let you believe that Jamaica can actually be effective in possession. I don't see Jamaica, the ladies football team, you could say every team Jamaica have never been really effective in possession. You know, and because they're not doing so much with the ball. So what I saw, I was impressed in the second game, because I saw Samson and Cardoza, and I think they're going to get called back for the next window, and it looks like it can get better. In the midfield, you have Spence, Swaby, Primus, Spence. Look like they weren't ready, or maybe the South Africans kudos to them. They really pushed them to their end because every single time they want to turn, the South Africans took the ball away from them. But once the backline start to work, which that's what a backline does for you, it makes you can't settle on the midfielders. So Spence started to get some space, Primo started to get some space, and it looks completely different. So with more time, I think Jamaica national team, this, what I saw, I think it should stay with the second game plan, and it looks like it can turn into something. What I would say now, they need to cut out the nepotism. The country itself needs to cut out nepotism because it's exposing that sometimes you're forcing players in the team. All right? Because what I saw here, Jodie Brown, they dubbed her as one of the best prospects coming out of Jamaica. And I can tell you that she has not improved. I am still going to give her a year, But how much years you need to give one player? All right?
Yeah.
How much years you need to give one player? Dribbling ability is very poor. And why it's very poor, it is because she ran into traffic and give the ball away. And she keep on doing it for like 2-3 years consecutive. So she's dribbling, but her head is down. So anytime you're reaching the opponent, you can't make a decision because what you're trying to do, you don't have any confidence in your dribbling. So you're running with your head down to make sure you don't lose the ball. But once you stop that, you're looking for the opportunity, whilst the defender are already coming at you with their heads up. So that is the same thing Cephas does. You understand me? So I don't know if it's a lack of true development problem. You get me?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a lack of development problem. Why so much players coming out of Jamaica with the same problems, the same lack of ball control, because that's what it is. You don't have any confidence. Look, Damian Lowe, he can't play the football out because he doesn't look on the ball. He's looking on the ball. He's not confident. Look at the players then that gets high credit. You have a little kid named Dujon Richards. He dribbles with his head up. Leon Bailey, he dribbles with his head up. But realize those are the better footballers that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You get me? So every one of them that can do it, we seems to respect them at a different level because it takes at least a second of their reaction timing. Because if you have to sit and then hold up your head, give me this ball, man. What is wrong with you? That's what will happen. You get me? So that's why I've said nepotism, because it's like we are forcing these players in the team just solely off. We have to put some locals in the team so we can fill the stadiums or something.
Yeah.
But we need to stop that, because you know why I said we need to stop that? Look at Bonisha. Look at Leon Bailey. Look at Blake. When they are really good, they are going to be very good. We don't need to force them anywhere. And I think we need to give her a break. And the next note, what I'm going to say after, which is very good, I actually think that the little time Buckley had in the States, Buckley looked impressive more than Jodie Brown. Because I am watching her and she looked more impressive to me. And you know that I was complaining that she should not make the national team. But I said, when I saw her in college playing, I said, let me give her back an opportunity. And based on what the runs in that I saw she running, I said, okay, this is education. It looks like she has improved on her game that she had in Jamaica. So I would put Buckley in the team over Jodie Brown at this point. Give her time to learn. Focus on our club.
No, yeah, and guys, don't worry, we'll get to the comments. The Jodie Brown point is, and maybe I've been spoiled by watching Olivia Smith from U15 all the way to senior team. But
you can't compare Olivia Smith to Jodie Brown. Olivia Smith is world class to Jodie Brown.
And I'm not going to. But what I will say is, I think Brown feels like a player to me who would have really benefited of being given the keys to a youth team and just say, we'll run through you, so you need to and learn how to be there. Because not to say she can't do that at our college team, like Florida State is a side that is one of the better programs. And maybe they didn't have the good year, they didn't have the good tournament this year, but that's a program where you have the best of the best players type there. but she's the type of player who has to learn to play off that. And I feel like if she had been given the opportunity instead of being just put into the national team from the get-go, and again, that's more of a JFF commentary than it is more of the player.
Good point. And Africans, remind me of doing a video on that. Is it that JFF creating a bigger problem than actually solving that? Because I think that nepotism behavior actually don't improve your players then, because if they believe that they're going to get an handed and it's going to make it harder for you to improve Africans. What are you going to improve on if you're going to get what you need? I need $500, but I should not look at work because my dad will give me the $500. What it give you, what you aspire to? You aspire to nothing. So you're gonna really lack that growth that you need. But not to cut you, Jody Buckley, she heard that people don't want her in the team. You have to go to college. Because the coach that came in said, no man, you have to go to college. People have to start go to college. And Jamaica trying to push back on it. Oh, why are you telling the kids them that? But you know what I tell the kids them? You're not going to make the national team. So if your job is to, if your real aim is to want your family to see in a Jamaica jersey, you're not going to make it until they do something. That's what happens, Africans. You have to stand on something. But I agree with you, if they had a good program, that is true. All right, so go ahead.
No, yeah, and I think that's the thing. Yeah, because like we've seen more, like, and it's not just Olivia. Like even like a player like a Zoe Burns, who she took the long route, right? She had a good youth. She went to Canada. Now she's playing NWSL, and it's there. I think the youth programs, you are allowed to have systems, right? You're allowed to have systems where you can put players in and say, hey, I think it's one of the few good things about having a U17 every year. I have issues with it just because I think it's exploitative of the club culture, but then club culture has its issues in itself. But at least if you're doing that, you as a federation have an opportunity now to say, hey, we can keep a core group of players together. At U17, it might be more difficult because they start to develop there, but maybe you can keep players in the same team for 1, 2, maybe 3 years. And maybe that gives them the confidence at that level. And by the time they age out, they've been seen enough times. Now you're saying, okay, maybe it's a scholarship for them here, or maybe it's a club over there, or maybe it's just this isn't for them. But I think that's where I think they need to improve. I think for a player like her, because I feel like she maybe again, we're not done with Jody Brown yet, but I feel as if she has reached a level where her game hasn't really developed. Like she was recruited for like, okay, look at the pace. She can come in, she can score, but you haven't seen anything else added to it. To use the basketball terminology, she hasn't added anything else to her bag. Right? She is still north-south, chop it, score. There's not much more. There's not head up. There's not enough at that national team level. And there's levels to this, right? The national team is in college. Maybe for some people it is, but not for her. So I think we're not done with her, like you said. But I think the player is definitely a player that you'd say needs to go back to the drawing board and just develop the game more. Maybe Jody is a player who needs to leave college and just go to a professional environment and just sit. Because I think her,
but she's in a professional environment now, you know, and that's it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because because remember, you know, the problem is, you know, she leaving, we were saying, because she now is in Benfica, right? She's in Benfica. She's in Benfica. Yeah. Yes. So I'm saying that's a technical system, because obviously Portugal is always like a technical system, especially Benfica. They kind of teach you those things. But that's why I said I would give her time. I want to make sure I compile everything properly, because I'm not going to speak on Jamaica anymore. That is good. But Bonnie Shaw, she never came out of second gear, and she looked very, very, very good whenever she really go for certain balls. You know, I think she played like in total maybe 60 minutes of the both games, as in like when she go for something. She thought the South Africans were very physical on her, tried to get to her instant, and she was skipping tackles. So she never wanted to get engaged. But once she did it, it showcased that she's levels above a lot of players in the world. And she was the one that changed the whole case, because without her, I think that maybe without her, even the same South Africa team actually beat Jamaica comfortable, even with how they are playing. because they were concentrating on her a lot of times. So at least she being there, give them the opportunity to work on their system. So I like the transition from around the back. I like Cardozo. I like Samson added to the team. All right. And then the subs that came in, I like as well, because you have a sub that came in, which is Peyton McNamara. She came in.
Yes.
She was in the number 19, I think she was in. She was very tiki-taka-ish type player. Come picking up the ball of the defenders, open the spaces, and give the wide channels options. And she was very good when she came on. You had Blackwood that came on. Blackwood had energy. At this point, I'm just gonna call Blackwood an energy player. You know, if we can get better, we will use better. Because I think going forward, I don't think Blackwood can truly help Jamaica in no defensive department. The only thing he can do is stock her up front as a, because this is what I'm going to say for a lot of Jamaican players. Some of them, you have to just try to use them as strikers or wingers. Once they don't have the fundamentals, you don't even bother want to try. You waste that time. Because I think the fullback thing is finished with Blackwood. She's just not that. You understand me? She's just not that. She don't offer any stability. She don't hold the lines properly. So I think she's more of a wide player out of anything else. But I like the attitude what Jamaica coming with. I like the attitude that Jamaica came with in the second half specifically, and who brought the attitude there. All right. So if we can stay on that, it was a good test from South Africa because their speed, closing down speed, is immense. So based on them having that, I am happy with what I saw in the second half of the second game. I think that's the best Jamaica played because they went through them a few times. So I like that. And
no, definitely.
So I have good feelings about what I saw. I just want them to be brave and continue it. Don't worry about losing games if it's not professional games. If it's more friendlies, just keep on working on your craft. That's what I would say. Because I have to end it with a positive because I had seen positives.
Yes, I would. Maybe this is a positive or a negative, but I'll ask you this question. I'll go through the comments and so you can give an answer. How are you feeling with Busby back with the program? Is he doing a good job for you? While you think about that, let me go through some of these comments that are here. Jason, always good to see you here. Sampson is a must in our team. Agreed. Cardozo surprised me on how much she improved for real. I think between those two players and a McNamara, I think it gives the Reggae Girlz the potential to be multiple. If they want to play defensive, they can, but they have players who can hold possession, and then that can give them a breather, but then also build. I think a solid middle that feeds Bunny, that isn't just woof the ball forward and hope she creates something, only just enhances their attack and allows them to be a lot better. So I think possession unlocks Bunny a lot more. If you want Man City Bunny, give her Man City style in the Jamaican shirt. If you can't do that, find the players to do so, and you can have Jamaica knocking on the door, being top 3 in the region. That's how I feel. Brown was bad from Colin Quest. Always good to see you. Jason saying they have to look down to check the field for potholes. I thought that was just a national stadium, but okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
That is a lie, Jason. That is not true because the South Africans was not looking down for nothing and they were passing the football. So that is not true.
Fair.
Excuse.
Jason saying Buckley also improved as well. Jody seems to be regressing from Brando. Good to see you, big man. Did we have better players when she first started playing for Jamaica?
I would say no, because they were coming in and it's like an off and off, a forced off and off at the time. You understand me? Because you had Mr. Man when she came in. You had the most xenophobic person when she came in. So you had players on the roster that could have played ahead of her, but it would have never happened because the national team was to sell players and send players to college at the time. You know, directly out of the coach's mouth. So it's not me making it up. That's exactly what he said. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And yeah. So then we continue. Yeah.
No, but even with that, like, just to kind of give a bit of a point to that, look at her goals. Now, again, some of the things I've said there, and we can kind of disprove a few of the things. She did play 15, U17, U20, but she started her senior team in 2018, a year after she started playing U20. After she was done U17, she was effectively thrown into the national team, which maybe your program is that good, maybe it's not, I don't know. but she's the
Africans,
type.
it's not. All right. Yeah, you know,
I know.
you know, because
I
they played
know.
America and Canada, and you saw the embarrassment when you saw them. So stop this. I know, and no, you know. We all watch all of those series.
I
So
know.
stop fooling the fans.
Let
We
me
know.
let me give him a morsel of hope. Just
Yes.
a
No,
drop of
no, no,
hope.
no. The hope is Bonnie Shaw. The
No.
hope is all Leon Bailey. The hope is the players them that does the correct things.
Well, then how do I
So we
help
need
hope
to.
grow if I can't pass them the ball?
Oh,
Okay, I can't have hope if I can't pass them the ball.
well, all right. You know, let me not argue that one.
Just saying. But okay, yeah, but like, and I think the point that I want to make with Jody is that she scored probably 11 of her goals between 18 and 19. The last goal out in the 20s was February last year when they played the Czech Republic. She has not given, and that's not necessarily all on, that's just the player for where they are, right? When you're at this level, you aren't here, right? I saw Olivia Smith score the same goal she scored in U15. She scored the same style of goal in U17. She scored that same style of goal in college
In the Premier
U20,
League.
in the Premier League, and then she scored against Korea, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
they're different players. They're both fast, but the one thing we said about Olivia was that, oh yeah, she'll give you a forearm and just fight you off. She's not. She welcomes the physicality a little bit. We say too much, but we love that about her. You don't see that translating with Jody, and you're hoping maybe at Benfica she's able to do that and grow. Because I mean, from a Canadian standpoint, Benfica is for us, right? That's Chloe Lacasse went there, and then she went to Arsenal for a bit. Now she's back in North America. Marie Alidou went there. Now she's finally getting a chance with the national team there. Benfica for us is Benfica is that's
Benfica for everybody. You know, you
it
learn
is.
football. You know, so if he leaves Benfica and don't do what you need to, I would be very disappointed. That's why I said I'm going to give her 1 year. All right.
Fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know we're running out of time. But what are your thoughts now? You said I should answer Busby's situation.
Yeah, answer Busby's situation.
I thought the coaching aspect, because it looks like he had more than one situations. But we don't have enough time, so I'm going to stick on football. I think he looks like anybody. I think I like him more than the last two. Not the next coach. I think he's slightly more offensive than the next coach, so I like him. But I like the fact that he's a realist. If he ain't good, he's not in any spoon feeding. Because we tend to love people spoon feed us and lie to us. You understand me? I think I love when he came and said, no, can't make this team, man. Only need to go to college. I need to find something to do. You understand me? I like that. Because that is the truth, Africans, and somebody need to tell them. So at least I can pick the best players and get certain things. So certain things that I'm seeing in the thirds, I am happy about that. I'm happy to see that they are trying to move, pass, and pick up the ball and do the right things. And how ironic, it's when the proper players them go on the field, the players them that are educated in football go on the field. So I'm loving what he's doing. He's trying to add educated people to the field. So I can't fight that. I have to give him a little time to let him do the thing. And we might see a good system through him, because I heard him say he's going to watch teams. Because he was one of the only coach came here and say he's watching other teams.
Yeah.
Majority of these coaches, like the man that brought in some of these local girls, he believes that you just beat up everybody. You know, he's delusional past the different levels. So when I hear sense, I'm saying, all right, then give this man a little chance. I know he has other stories that I heard. I have not dug deep in it, because from that day I'm a little bit busy. But once I'm done, I will watch back all of his press conferences and stuff. But I can work with this. At least he knows his boundaries, and he's trying to put out the best foot forward with the best players there. All right, and I like that. I will take that.
No. Definitely. We'll Canada's games can be quick to cover, so we'll go a little bit over for that, but we'll do that. Brando saying hoping Blackwood's overall game would develop being in Mexico, and maybe it's developed a bit, but I think there's a real conversation in terms of where you are looking at this team, and maybe we'll have that a little bit later in a year review, say kind of where the spots and the teams that we feel need to be improved, because I think we could kind of have that conversation a little bit more so on a later
that will
day.
take an extreme for itself.
Yeah, that would take an extreme.
I wanted to just give Jamaica praise today because they won
Yes.
both games, and the coach looks like he's learning, and the approach that he has, I like it, you know. So I want to left with some positives. I like it. I actually like it.
Definitely. All right. So with Jamaica being where it is, guys, let's just talk quickly about Canada. 2 friendlies in their window, a draw against Iceland, which I think for me, the disappointing part of it was that we didn't learn anything. It was probably more of the same in terms of the games, but then a 5-1 win over South Korea, to which a lot of us would say, well, Canadians at least would say, yeah, I think this is, I don't think it's been an interesting year for women's soccer in Canada. It's been an interesting year for soccer in Canada, football overall. Every time you think that there's a moment of peace, there's a new controversy. And when you think that controversy's ended, apparently there's 8 more chapters of it in the book. We're not here to talk about that. That's another day. But I think on the pitch, to me, especially because of this 5-1, and it's not because of this, but this 5-1 game, to me, you had an own goal, which was caused by Olivia Smith, Marie Alidou in the 52nd. Olivia Smith scoring the same goal she scored U15, U17, U20, Penn State, Sporting, Liverpool, Canada. You see Vanessa Gilles gain a goal, Adrienne Leon gain a goal. I think for this Canadian program, the conversation is 2025 the year that you actually transition? Right? They've played with 3 different coaches to end the year. No, they were not, Jason. But I think the conversation we had before 2023's World Cup, where we said, hey, they held on to a generation, maybe a window too long, and they pay for it. Now we know why, because every coach has their favorites. Some coaches have a top 10 they like. Bev had a top 25. So if you weren't in a top 25, you had no shot. But the youth that's starting to emerge with this side, specifically the Olivia Smiths of the world, the Alidou, who is not that young but still getting opportunities. I think the players, and though she did get a start, the players like Deanne Rose, the players like, and I don't think it's fair to put Janine Becky in this conversation, but I'll put her in it. The players like even a Jade Riviere, who came on, got hurt, and then came off. The conversation is there are enough young players that are starting to push them that it's no longer a conversation of, oh, let them play. No, if they are, we have the depth. If the player is playing well, you go. I think this window for me, they clearly missed Jade Rose, who was out with an injury. Kadisha Buchanan tore her ACL, so she's out for an extended period of time. But without at least that additional center back, they missed going to the back 3, which really left them a little bit uncomfortable. I know their coaches like playing the 4-3-3, but I think for Canada, it is a conversation of which players where do you move players? How do you get them through? I know Olivia Smith started up as the 9. Where is that where you want to keep her as? Does that simplify your game enough where you just play her as your outstanding 9? You leave a Haidema on the bench. You leave an Evelyn Vienne who has a little bit more pace and is good on those runs if you're going to be defending. There's a lot of fun questions that they can have, but if they actually have those conversations and try it out, I think we could see a transition to a hungry, very interesting Canadian side going to 2025 because, again, those Deanne, Adriana, even I'll put Adriana there, Leon there as well, though they're scoring. I think the youth are starting to come in this program. They've been there, but I think they're starting to push and have the conversation and say, we belong in these top 23, top 26s as much as these players do, and we're going to continue to show. And I think that's great for a coach. Give me hungry young players and veterans who have to maintain their playing style so that the decision is always tough, versus with Bev where it was just, well, if I've picked you once, you're pretty much in it. So we're kind of there. But 5-1 and then 0-0 of the Canadian games that you saw. What are some of your takeaways, JD? Just for that.
You know, I'm very much impressed with Canada. And as what you had said the other day, since Canada moved to the back three, because what a lot of people don't realize with the back three, situation, it's when you have a long-term plan. Most of the times, people use it as this. When you have a long-term plan, because you don't have time, because you have immediate games coming and stuff, you want to get the closest thing to get players closer to each other, because that's what back three actually does, is to bring everybody closer to each other. So the passing could have worked well. So they could have gotten familiar with each other faster. And that's what I thought that they did. Now they are going a little bit expansive in the last two games. And I want to say that the turnover rate from Olivia Smith, Rose, they really look comfortable in these systems. I still believe that they need bigger teams to trick. These two games that they played, I don't think they are at this. Even the Iceland game, they were better than Iceland to me in the game. So I think that both of them, they should have won those games. The Spain game, absolutely not. They weren't better. I watched that game 2 times. They weren't better. But there is very few teams will look better than Spain, and I want to say that they are still creating chances, even though Spain creating 2 times the chances as they create 1. They are still looking like they're fighting. This Canada team have something different about them. I think that this Canada team might be the toughest team in Canada, period, of all teams. Like, they just have this different vibes about them, especially from the Olympics. So I did these quality players to it. I think they are going to be tough, and it's closer. It's closer now. They can pop up on any day and beat United States any day. That's what I'm seeing with them now. Just like how I saw that they were stuck in with against France and got the win on the day. And sadly, I thought that they should have gone further in the Olympics, just a little penalty shootout problems, But they're adding the right pieces, and they have 2 systems that are very, very strong. All right, and they have quality players as well. So I do see Canada keeping their second spot in CONCACAF, and it can beat United States on any given day while they're in their transition period.
I think so as well. I think, again, not having Kadisha is going to be painful because they will lack that back 3 opportunity. They can still play a back 3 with Shadorsky as well as Vanessa Gilles, but I think they need
but they don't have so much options after
no,
that.
They
so
don't.
Are you going to change to a 2 immediate after someone get injured out of the back 3? That's why it's never good to use. That's why you don't. Once you have 3 center backs, you don't go 3 at once.
They need a coach is what they need, honestly. No, but I'm not even like saying it meanly, but like they've played with what it feels like 1 billion coaches to end the year. The best thing for them for 2025 is if in January Kevin Blue comes and says, okay, we have a coach, because I mean, not to get into all the off field, like they don't have a U17 coach anymore. They don't have a national team coach. Their old U15 coach is banned for a year. Like their women's system needs an overhaul, but they need a national team coach yesterday. So who can at least walk in and say, hey, this is the team. I'm going to come in. I'm going to evaluate. I'm going to call people and go, because right now, I think there's a lot of players who pushed with potential and have kind of stalled out a little bit. Like a Julia Grosso coming back in the NWSL, I think getting some minutes will help her. Jessie Fleming coming back, getting minutes will help her, but I think they need a coach. So because they went from Andy Spence, who played a back 3, they will Sydney Tai, who goes a back 4. They had Bev, who has hey, if you're in the 25, you're in the 25. Like they need a one voice that is talking to them and growing, because it's been a year and a half for them, and you can only run off of that us against the world mentality for so long before, okay, tactics now, okay? You can come into a game and want to just burn the field, and believe me, I'll bring the oil. We'll burn the field together. But they need a coach, just someone who can at least stabilize them from there and move forward. But yeah, I mean, Jason's been asking me about players and such, but like the young forwards that are coming for Canada, they keep on having conversations. Is it Haidama? Is it Vien? To me, I think it's Vien out of the two of them. But you have Maloof, who we've all forgotten about. She's out here. Chuku is still out there, right? You still have Jade Rose's little sister who made her debut, who's out there. You have Olivia Smith you can use out there. You have options. And so now it's the question of, can you now, you have a year basically between just qualifying for the Gold Cup W and such where they can figure this out, get a coach and figure it out. And I think that's, to me, their biggest thing. Where they see an Olivia Smith playing, I still think I like her as a 10. Like in the, and I made this comparison the other day, like she's like a Jonathan David 10, where she's not really a 10, but she's really the second striker in that setup. I think that's where you can get the best out of an Olivia Smith, just because in the buildup she's still good. She still has a head on her where she can find the right passes, but as that second leaking, if you have a 9 that's dragging their center backs to create space, then she comes in at the top of the 18. The one thing we know about her is, you remember that U17s, she will shoot. She will shoot the ball anywhere, anytime. Give her space. She's letting it go, and she's going to put it somewhere. It'll hit the frame or hit someone's shin, and it'll be painful. But that's her in a nutshell. And I think that is what they really need to look on and work through. So we'll do that there. Warren Wester, good to see you. Canada's getting better for players competing for positions. Smith is getting much better players for her football in England. That she does. Me and my conversation with Jason was there. And then Warren saying again, gets your best 11 for Canada. It's harder to, as they pick the talent pool is deep. When healthy, it's tough to do. I do agree. Haidama is a 10 and a 9's body. I think Haidama, to use the male comparison, Haidama to me feels like a Victor Boniface. Right? She can play the 9. She has the body for it. But in the times, like I thought about it when they had injuries out wide and they put her out wide as like that in a 4-4-2 outside midfielder, right? Attacking or on the outside of an attacking trio. And she isn't terrible. I think deep lying playmaking and passing, because the height and the vision, she's a good passer from deep. But then it's just in your build-up. In the build-up, she has moments. At leading the line, I think she's a good presser. But I think the comparison for her is like a Victor Boniface, where it's he body of a 9, but wants to kind of play out wide a little bit. But that's how I see it. Do you think that's fair, or am I crazy for that comparison?
I don't think you're crazy. We have a lot of those players because the game is evolving so fast. We realize that a lot ending up putting in positions that they are not comfortable with, but are want to play because they have so much skill set. People wrongfully diagnose that's the position they should be playing. And if somebody just be more understandable, they would just put them out there, because if you have speed, you have dribbling ability, and you have strength, but you rely on certain things out wide, why not put them out wide? Because majority of the times when you're trying to use them as a 9, if your system don't try to play with wide wingers, so that means that 9 becomes a 9.5, that they play more attacking midfielder options. You have to be a back to wall striker.
Yeah.
So you're going to see the limitations. That means your dribbling gets out and your speed gets out. You have to start use your strength and some of the times your passing ability. And you're coming up against bigger physical defenders, and your game is going to get off, and you're just going to start a bad games and then go down the road. And that's what I saw for Idema sometimes. That's what I saw for Boniface, and that's why both of them actually suffer. You know?
Yeah, no, agreed with that. And I think I think they both suffer from the aspect of they have the physical traits of someone they say, oh, 6'2".
Yeah, you have to play there.
Yeah. And I think that's what happened with both of them, to agree, though. Their body says no, but their coaches, yes, in that sense. Warren Webster, what's your views on the goalkeeping pool? Outside of their top 2, I think they're fine. I know they played their third goalkeeper basically a game, and she was not the strongest on her feet in some moments, decision making. But I think from a goalkeeping standpoint, Canada has enough threes that you don't really need to worry about it. Whether you're looking at Anna Karpenko, if you're looking at I just forgot it. But between Karpenko and others, I think Lysiane is a fine third goalkeeper. If you're arguing about third goalkeepers, I'm not really. It's not too big of a serious conversation because Sheridan's had the goal. D'Angelo, I think, is better on her feet that way. Just doesn't have the same height. Like Sheridan is 5'7", 5'8". D'Angelo is 5'5". So those top bin, the goal that Mexico scores against them in Toronto when they draw 1-1. I mean, that's across the frame of the goal, and that's if her positioning is a little bit off on that one. But I think if she's a little bit tall, that's your one concern. But with her feet, I think she's fine. I think developing, but I think there's enough young ones between Lattier, Henning at the youth levels. They'll be coming up. I don't think Canada has to worry about youth goalkeepers. It's just the same conversation with goalkeepers anywhere, which is you want your goalies to be playing. And so I think D'Angelo's getting minutes, Sheridan's getting consistent starts, Lysiane's getting spot starts here and there. So whoever your third goalkeeper is, I think you kind of work with that way. Labbé or Sheridan. Sheridan, to me, right now is the best goalkeeper that they have. Labbé is done with her career. So I think we'll see how it kind of flows from there. But I feel good. But again, it's a transition year for them. They have to figure it out and kind of go from there. But I like what Canada did in their 2 games. Wish they would have rotated more in the first game just to discover more. But I like their rotation in the second. I will say, though, I love Jade Riviere, but her lack of availability is going to be the thing that keeps her off this roster. And it sucks when you see a player continue to get injured and always get knocks. It's a bit stylistically how she plays. But if she's healthy, she's starting where Gabrielle Carl is starting, right there. She's your right fullback. But because she's injured, Gabby Carl has been able to come in and take that spot. And if she's not there, Janine Becky, your play her everywhere player, can start in that spot as well. So I think Jade Riviere, she really needs a year to just get healthy. She needs to be healthy, and I think that's why I'm saying it, Jason. It's not that she's a bad player, but the best ability is availability. But yeah, it's just that she's always hurt. She's a player that we're going to look back and say the potential was there, but maybe wasn't healthy enough to play. But we'll have that conversation as we move on. Guys, we are going to wrap it up here. We will be back probably next week to talk a little bit more because we're in December, which means year end, talking about all the fun things to come and to go. But guys, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Make sure you guys leave a like on this. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. We're about 14 away from 1,000. So you get me to 1,000 before this year ends. Let me start 2025 with 1,000 and we go from there. But guys, thank you so much for being here. If you're on the rewatch, you know the deal. Leave your comments in the comments below. And until next time, guys, we'll just say bye-bye for now.